Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. Start off with the 144,000, which would be the ruling governing body in the kingdom of heaven, which would be all men, 144,000. Also to a lot of the 1/3 here in America, which would be men, women, and children that will be saved, right? They'll be believers. 2/3 of our people will be destroyed here in America, Babylon the Great. You have the rebels that are scattered abroad in different countries, they'll be destroyed. And you have the elect that's scattered abroad, right? They'll be saved, right? Of who the world ignorantly and willingly calls black, Hispanic, Native American, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Jamaican, Haitian, Guatemala, Panamanians, Cubans, right? And you got the speckled bird Israelites as well, right? I'm your brother Yeremia. Come back at y'all with another lesson. As y'all can see, end time headlines. It says UN warns rising food and fuel prices risk pushing global hunger higher as a humanitarian needs grow, right? Which a famine is gonna happen, right? You know, these things are part of judgment, right? You know, hunger, pains, and these different things of people dying of hunger is all part of the Lord's movie, man. Right? I believe, the MOTB is going to be implemented during a time like that. My brother had a dream a few years back about, basically it looked like this. They was in line and people was receiving it, in the dream. And, they had to take the seat to eat food, man, because it was a famine, right? And, if the Lord's not with you, you're going to take it. You're not going to have faith. But in that dream, they try to, grab him up in there because he wouldn't take it. And he said the Lord's name and he was, teleported in the dream. Right? And this is what the elect's going to, go through, as far as, I'm not saying that exact scenario, but, the elect's going to be protected. Right? But let me get 2 Esdras 15 in verse 1. It says, Behold, speak down the ears of my people the words of prophecy. Who are his people? The Israelites, right? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which I will put in thy mouth, said the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true, right? It says, fear not the imaginations against thee, right? Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee, the unbelief, right, with the people, because you got people that don't believe that these things are going to happen, right? But we also not fearing what these elites and these rulers are planning on doing. Which is really the Lord's using you to cause this judgment, right? It says that I speak against you, For all the faithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So if you don't believe in YASHAMIAHLA, you're not following him, you going to take that seed, and you're going to be subject to these different famines, and you're not going to have no protection, man. Right? Only the elect is going to be safe in these times. Right? When you go to the book of Job 5. Let me see. This is Job 5, verse 19, because this talks about the different troubles that the elect will be in, but the Lord's going to deliver them. Right? This is Job 5. In verse 19, it says, he should deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, and in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. You see? And thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, and neither shall thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. You see? So when these things happen, man, when all hell's breaking loose, when societies collapse and there's no food in the stores, and the power is off, because I believe there's going to be EMP too, speaking as a man, right? It says, what that verse I read, verse 20, verse 21, it says, thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh, and then destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. You see, because there's going to be animals that's going to be hungry too in these times, man. Because people, if the society is going to be up and running, don't forget about animals and people that's going to be eating people. We going to need deliverance, man. We going to need deliverance, And these are times that we're coming into, man. These different wars, prices going up. It's going to happen. It ain't going to get better, man. The Lord is making good on his word. And it's going to be like during that time where that's in the book of Kings. Where her crews, let me see if I can spell the word right. I forgot how to spell it. Let me see. I know Elijah was fed by a raven, right? He ate a cake and it lasted, I think, 40 days. And this one woman, I believe it was either Elisha or, let me see. Yeah, I think this is where it was at. So I'll start at verse, yep, this is that chapter. So I'll just read from verse 1. It says, 1 Kings 17, and Elijah the Tishbite, who was the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And King Ahab was a wicked king of Israel, man. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook, which a brook is a body of water, chariot that is before Jordan. It shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook that I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So yeah, he was fed by a raven, man. And, you can say, oh, raven, Jake in this time, they're going to say, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. Ravens are dirty, Jake going to say some damn dumb shit, man, some silly shit, man. That's why the Lord going to fucking take most of y'all niggas out, man. It says, so he went and did according to the word of the Lord, for he went and dwelt by the brook, chariot that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. Right? And this proves that you can't do that in this time. You can't drink no damn brook or no spring of water. You might get sick, man. The water's tainted. This man sprays chemtrails in the sky, and everything's tainted, man. The earth was given to the hands of the wicked. That wasn't in this time, but we in that time now, so we definitely gonna need deliverance. You think if the Lord did that back then with Elijah, you don't think he gonna come through now? He definitely will. It says, and it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. And behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. Right? So the Lord can use people to help you, man. Right? And he can use the heathen to entreat you well, man. But that doesn't mean the heathen's going to get salvation. Genesis. It says, so he arose and went to Zarephath. It says, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, Fetch me, and hand it to me. I pray thee a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. Right? It says, and then she said, As the Lord thy God liveth, I have not a cake, but an handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat and not die. And die. It says, and Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and thy son. So, because the Lord was dealing with Elijah, man. It says, For thus said the Lord God of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that the Lord send the rain upon the earth. Right? And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah, and she and her house and did eat many days. You see, so the cruse didn't waste of oil, and she had meal to eat. Right? It says, in the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by Elijah. So the Lord is going to have these same miracles happen in this time, man. So these things, it's going to get to that point, man. The Lord said, let me see, require that which is past. Yeah. There's Ecclesiastes 3:15. It says, That which had been is now, right? What has been, right? Right. The prophets of old, they were prophesying. They was in captivity. It's the same thing. You know, the prophets of old are back. They're prophesying. Jake is, all wicked as hell. In the word of the heathen, and the Lord worked miracles back then. He's gonna do that now. It says, and that which is to be hath already been, right? And Yahweh will require that which is past. So, and I'm gonna read verse 16. It says, and moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment. What's the under the sun? The earth, right? Judgment, that wickedness was there, in the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. So you got wickedness and you got righteousness on the earth, man. It's a balance, right? And this time, you're going to have most people on the earth, they're going to starve, right? And they're going to take that seed, right? And the Lord's going to be with the elect. He's going to have miracles like that. But you don't know how the Lord's going to do it. The Lord could rain down manna from heaven like he did during the time of ancient Egypt. It takes faith, man. And me and the brother, we were just talking about how you got to have the faith of a mustard seed. That's all it's going to take, man. But if you a part of the elect, it's going to happen for you. So, hey, stay strong, Jake. Stay strong. The Lord is going to work miracles, man, for sure. These things are going to happen, but you got to remain faithful, man. Endure to the end. And that's why the names are important, man. You got to call the name of the Lord, man. This is Proverbs 18:10. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. Most of you Jakes, you ain't going to have the name. Most Jakes don't even know. And even if you do know it, you wicked. I mean, hey, the Lord he ain't gonna hurt you, man. So this is another warning, man. We don't got too much time. They're gonna implement that CHIP very soon. So, expect these wars to not die down, hopefully, Lord willing, but this famine is definitely gonna come, and people gonna be shaken up, man. They're gonna be, people gonna have their damn stomachs touching their backs. And your food gonna run out, man. That food ain't gonna last forever. And then that's when that second ages 15 and 14 is gonna come into play. People gonna, break into your houses for lack of bread, for great tribulation, right? All these things are at the door. So, let me get Psalms 90 real quick. Psalms 90, because Psalms 90 and 91. It says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High, which is this truth, right, shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty, the protection. I will say to the Lord that he is my refuge, and he is my fortress, my God, and Yahweh, him will I trust. Surely he will deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, right, which is Esau, from the noisome pestilence, right. It says, he shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust, and his truth shall be thy shield and buckler. You see that? And I'm going to skip down. I can read verse 6. Oh, I can read it. It says, nor the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. It says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. So, famine is because of people's wickedness, right? That's why these things always happen. And during the time of, that time of the Book of Kings, I think that was, a lot of we went in the Syrian captivity. We read the Book of Kings. What else? Yeah, the Assyrians, ancient Egypt, with Joseph. The Lord always got down like that, man. But it's all judgment. Proving that the Lord's not dealing with the whole entire planet. He's only dealing with the Israelites, the elected Israelites. And these nations gonna get judged for what they've done to us and their wickedness. And the Lord don't care about them anyway. So, hey, we definitely need the Lord, man. When these things pop off. So I'm gonna close out. This video was edifying. I'm gonna give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Green Millstone. Till next time, I want to say bye bye.